Yes, they will be the current top team versus the reigning champions. A rematch from the summer semifinals in 2020. We had a great katana here earlier. I posted something on Twitter. He was holding a katana. I guess he figured it wouldn't be a fair fight for Larson. If
Larson only had his fists. It
was not fair. So yeah, fantastic matchup coming up. LS, after the performance yesterday of Rogue and G2 respectively, what are you expecting out of the level of this matchup?
I'm expecting this to be really hype. I think it is a prelude to the finals later on down the road. Both of these teams are just looking so clean, so strong, so stable pretty much here in 2021 LEC. And I really think that the highlight is obviously the mid lane, but also rekkles is going to be the final boss almost for Rogue to try to take down. And how they're going to try to coordinate that is really the big question in my book. I think draft super important between these two teams. And I think if G2 come out of the draft a little bit behind, they can still win, but I don't feel the same way for Rogue.
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question because I've seen a couple of G2 games where it wasn't all that clean and it wasn't all that spiffy. They still won, though. So, you know, are you expecting them to clean that up a bit going up against an opponent who is known for playing very cleanly?
All right, well, I was referring to rekkles mostly when I talked about the cleanliness because that guy is always looking pristine, 10 out of 10. And I mean, we have the mid lane matchup here between Caps and Larson. This is obviously going to be very interesting because what type of approach are they going to take against one another? And how is G2 coming into this draft? That's a really big question. I think if G2 just draft mid-range, scaling, late-game type team composition, it's going to be a very hard mountain for Rogue to climb.
And in this mid lane matchup, it's so interesting to me because usually we see Larson on a lot of these more scaling picks, you know, cruise through the laning phase and then demolish in the team fights. But if you look back to the past times Rogue and G2 have faced off, Larson takes matters into his own hands. That best of 5 that went the distance last summer, he was playing Akali, and it was the solo kill matchup. Every single game hinged on who was killing who in that 1v1 in the mid lane, and I'd really like to see more of that in our match today.
I agree. I think we all do see them pull out rather the aggressive picks and play the best League of Legends because sometimes yesterday it wasn't all that. Now, Caps and Larson, of course, they were the top 2 in the MVP voting last summer, and since we're almost done with the first half, we decided to look at some mid-season MVP candidates. So here we have a very nice selection. We talked about rekkles a lot already, so maybe let's keep it short. In a few words, why does he deserve the mid-season MVP?
Because everyone else on his team is sprinting it down. This guy is never going to have a bad performance. You look at him, like, if you look at statistics, he is by far the best player in the league already to start off the split. But really, this guy just is doing it all for G2 right now and reining them in a little bit when they get loose.
Secondly, Larson, we said, you know, he's going up against Caps and it's going to be a great matchup, LS, but why does he deserve at this point in time perhaps the mid-season MVP? And do you think we've seen the best of Larson yet?
I don't think we've really seen the end of Larson by any means in terms of his skill ceiling. I think this guy just still has a lot higher to continue climbing. He's always someone that's always looking for micro edges, whether it be in champion meta picks or even in terms of small itemization things that he can do inside a laning phase. It always seems like he's always trying to min-max inside of the game. And the other thing about him is that Larson doesn't always necessarily have to beat you with just flashy gameplay or anything like that. He's just really solid and very scary. And it reminds me of something like watching Showmaker on his rise up.
And very reliable in that mid lane. Next to him, his teammate of this year, Odo Omne. The big question is, will he finally be happy? Will he be joyous in interviews? Will he get the MVP or not?
Because the sad thing is, like, Odo's having a great split, but Larson is on his team, and Larson's just going to upstage him. He's a top lane, right? And Odo, like, for everything he offers Rogue, he's like the perfect top laner. Like, he doesn't require a lot of assistance in the top lane, yet he's still winning lane. He's drawing so much pressure and having huge influence over Rogue's team fights as well. So
I love that.
He's not the flashy player for the team, but again, consistency is king. And I think if you look at our 3 sort of front runners, we mentioned here with rekkles, Larson, Odo, they're all very consistent. And then when you look at the surrounding cast, who also have had the stand-up performances, that's when you get a very volatile, super pop-off Whiffo.
Yeah, let's talk to me about kind of the 2 guys here on the outside. Whippo, respectively, of course, is one of the flashiest players we have, and Gilius, who's been doing great for Schalke.
This is like the invert to like making a hamburger or a cheeseburger where the buns are normally the stable parts and then everything in the middle falls apart. But on this side, we got the 2 volatile ones at the very end. Gilius and Whippo, they can be the thing that holds the team together, and they can have those insane MVP pop-off performances that make you go, okay, that's why that person's an S-tier player. But then other times, they can do a lot of high variance things. They can flip a lot for no reason. But at the end of the day, there's still someone that you can count on to try to actually just win you the game outright from what should maybe be considered an impossible position.
I love that analogy. The burger and just the stable parts are perhaps not so for these two on the outside. Thank you so much for talking through those. Those are all our candidates from our side, at least for the LEC. Yeah.
These might,
What?
shock. These might have been the MVP candidates, but someone's already MVP.
Oh, yeah?
So I don't know why we didn't talk about him.
Who?
And yes, of course, I'm referring to Chovy, who's always MVP. Shocks.
He doesn't even play in the
Always.
league.
He's an
Church or
LCK. He's not even.
Hashtag Church or Chovy. Ender, not right now. I'll get back to you later. See you
All
in the
right,
chat
my
on
bad.
LCS.
All right.
Yep, I'll go to my
Shocks,
corner.
take it away.
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
In any case, in terms of our LEC mid-split MVP, the official award will, of course, still be decided after the regular season. But for this one specifically, we want to hear your opinion. Hit us up at LEC on Twitter. Tell us who you think should deserve the mid-split MVP, the mid-season MVP rather. I'm just still trying to get used to that. And we'll talk about it in the post-game lobby. We'll see all of these players in action tonight as we close out the first half of the regular season. A very important